Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wrestling with Power. Mosley here.
Slick Vic here.
There you go, by Slick Vic himself. Bonjour, Slick Vic. How are you today?
Bonjour, Mr. Mosley. God, I wish I knew more French, but I'm fine. I am swell. I am dandy. I am ready for some wrestling talk because we
Hell
got a
yeah.
lot of it.
We got a lot of it. This is a busy week at WWE. Of course, we got the SmackDown review from August the 29th, the Raw review from September the 1st, but in between those two little weekly shows that we always go over, we had a PLE this week, Clash in Paris, which sort of culminated their tour of Europe, if you will. Well, actually, it was Raw that culminated the tour of Europe, I believe. But Clash in Paris was the big one. So we have all of that and a little bit more because if you joined us last week, and you'll know anytime that we go over a PLE the week prior, we got Slick Vic's picks, and this week we're going to be checking out the results of those picks as we go through the matches in Clash in Paris. And then we have the return of last week's segment, Cooking the Books, this week's topic, as was announced on the Facebook page yesterday. I probably should have put it up there a few days prior, but is what it is. This week's topic on Cooking the Books is AJ Lee's WWE return. All right, so, Slick Vic, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So we'll go ahead and jump right into the reviews with SmackDown.
All right. SmackDown on August 29th, emanating from Lyon, France. We open up with Logan Paul. So he comes out of the ring. Man, he's a parasite. That's what they labeled him. Like he's like Las Plagas. And, you know, the crowd gives him the reaction expected. But it's funny because he takes credit for the Netflix deal. Boom. He takes credit for the ESPN deal. Can I slap my mic? He even
Noise.
He even put Prime in WWE. He says he's valuable. You're welcome. Or you're welcome, TKO.
Yes.
Then he turns his sights on John Cena and starts speaking French. You know, very entertaining stuff. Cena interrupts. He's really over. He calls Logan Paul a wannabe. When Cena is the original disruptor. That's another thing. Logan Paul called himself a disruptor. John talks about how he wins championships and pisses off purists. And he's going to give Logan Paul his first lesson in thugonomics. So this was a really good promo battle. So it's a really lengthy one. It's too much for me to just go over line by line. Some really good quotes. I say go check it out. And then they even start yelling at each other in French, which I thought was hilarious. But the best part of this whole promo is Cena talks about his heel run a bit, where he talks about how, you know, he insulted that young fan in France the last time they were here. And wouldn't you know it? That kid is here. And John goes up to him and apologizes. The kid was too busy playing with his phone. Or I think he was trying to pull his camera app out so he can get a selfie while John was in his face.
He's playing Roblox.
Yeah.
He didn't give a shit about John anymore.
And yeah, that's the promo. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. Anything to add, Mr. Mosley?
I mean, I think you pretty much said it all. I thought this was good. You know, Cena's always good on the mic, and I think he's going to go the extra mile, especially now with this being his retirement tour. Just a great promo. I mean, what can you say? Like, any promo Cena does now is sort of must-see. But I was impressed with Logan Paul's French. He knows French. Or he practiced those lines, but he said quite a few words in French. And so did Cena. They both kind of made me feel like an idiot. I'm not sure if the over-the-top yelling helps Logan or Paul or not. I don't know if that's something that he should keep doing. I'm not sure if that sells it any more for me or less for me. But yeah, it was good. It was a good promo. Good way to start the show. Crowd was very, very hot and into it. Oh yeah. One more thing to add, yes, that I thought was actually neat. I don't know if this has happened in years, if it's ever happened actually, but the crowd, and it's not even an English speaking crowd. Did you notice when John Cena came out, they weren't doing the John Cena sucks. They were singing his music. They were
Yeah.
singing his lyrics. I thought that was great. That was a breath of fresh air for them not to do the John Cena sucks thing. They were actually singing along to his tune. I like that a lot.
Have the crowds leading up to this not been singing his song?
Not that I've paid attention. No, the last time they were saying John Cena sucks, even though he's turned babyface. It's just sort of that thing, It's like the Kurt Angle, like you suck thing.
Yeah.
Like they don't think he sucks. It's just at this point that's what they do,
Yeah.
kind of.
Hell,
But-
when Kurt would come out, he would kind of encourage it.
Yeah, he would start doing the.
Yeah, he'd be pointing.
But no, this is the first. If it's happened before, I apologize. But this is the first time that I remember them singing John Cena's theme. They sing everybody else's song. This is the first time I remember hearing the crowd sing the words to that instead of hearing them say John Cena sucks. So I liked it. Thought that was good.
All right, moving on. We got a backstage segment here where we see the Street Profits. But what's surprising is not what anything they have to say, is that Bo Dallas came out. Not Uncle Howdy. Bo Dallas came out. And he said something about blood running through the Prophet's veins. Are they really brothers? And, I don't remember the exact verbiage here. I apologize for that, but it was interesting seeing Bo again. Before I move on, what did you think of seeing Bo?
I thought the same. I thought this was a very brief segment. It was sort of almost like a nothing segment, really. Because even though I do think the tag team division on SmackDown's better than it has been on Raw, I think it's been relatively quiet since the big SummerSlam match that everybody had. I feel like it's not just, I don't know, it's still there, but it's just like, I don't know, it's crawling instead of running, I guess. But, yeah, it was weird seeing Bo come out, and he was still kind of in Uncle Howdy character, like the way he talks and stuff, but he just didn't have the get up. So it was, I don't know, I liked it. Thought that was a nice little touch.
All right, so then we have our first match, which is going to be Alexa Bliss versus Chelsea Green. Now, I think this was supposed to be a tag team match. When Charlotte and Alexa came out, they got jumped by Chelsea and Alba. And next thing I know, it cuts to break, I think, and then we come back and we have a match between Alexa Bliss and Chelsea Green. This to me was a nothing match. There isn't much to say about it. I was just surprised that Alexa went over with a she went over with a roll up, but I'm surprised they just made Chelsea lose here. I would have thought it would have been like Alba in there, maybe taking the fall against Alexa, because isn't Chelsea like the star of that little stable? And yeah, anything to add there?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I liked Bliss's aggressiveness here, which is obviously resulting from the fact that they attacked Charlotte pre-match, and her leg or her knee or whatever was already messed up, so they targeted the leg and took her out, and that resulted in, instead of it being a tag team match, one-on-one. But I thought the booking was absolute shit here. Like, why? Like, do you ever remember a time, because I don't, when a challenger to a championship in a championship match would purposely ruin their chance at getting said championship? Right? This was supposed to be a championship match, was it not?
I thought it was. I thought it was going to be a tag team match.
Yeah. I heard during the beginning of the match.
I got to go back and remember, but yeah, I think last week they did advertise a tag team title match.
Yeah, because see, I didn't understand what was going on when this all first went down, and I kind of had to rewind and go back and check it out. But Michael Cole mentioned that this was supposed to be a tag title match, and that makes the whole thing seem stupid. Why would the challengers purposely take out one of the competitors when they were the ones who were up for the title? They knocked themselves out of a title match. So, and there was no, unless this goes somewhere or unless I'm missing something here, I don't understand that. I don't know why they would do that. That seemed like shit booking to me.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Backstage, Sammy is hyping himself for the main event. By the way, the main event this evening is going to be Sami Zayn challenging Solo Sikoa for the U.S. title. And then we find out that Cody and Brandy are having another daughter. Or was their first kid a daughter? I don't remember now, but
Yes.
yeah, they're having another daughter. And then we have another segment with a vignette of Aleister Black where he says he's warned Damian Priest. And, that was it was neatly produced segment or vignette, however you want to call it. Then we have Priest live, who responds saying Aleister is very educated. He's a smart dude, but he's unfazed. And then he throws it back to Michael and Wade.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a couple of segments back to back to back there. Anything you want to chime in on or give your thoughts on?
Did they happen to mention, or did anybody mention at any point in time how far along Brandy is at this point?
No, I don't remember hearing anything about it until the kid was born.
I wonder if the kid was born. You're saying the kid is here? The new kid is here?
I think so. I mean, I can quickly.
She went from being pregnant to having a child. Wait a second. She wasn't pregnant at WrestleMania, was she? Was she at WrestleMania 41?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking about 40. I think it was a 41 though in the crowd.
Yeah, she came, didn't she celebrate with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Cody and Brandy Rhodes announced surprise birth of daughter.
Wow, okay. Well, I thought this was like an announcement of pregnancy, not an announcement of birth, but okay. Good for them. Yeah. Good for them.
Okay. How do you feel about this Aleister Black and Wade Barrett? I'm sorry, Aleister Black and Damian Priest feud. Are you excited, indifferent, just waiting to see how it plays out, or?
I'm kind of over it, man, to be honest with you. They've been going back and forth for the past several weeks. I would have expected it to culminate at some point by now. And it hasn't, and they're going to keep fighting each other. To me, I just feel like they're, as far as the booking goes and the inside goes, it's sort of like, we don't really have anything for you two to do right now, so we're just going to let you beat each other up forever. Kind of like Rusev and Sheamus, but with Rusev and Sheamus, at least they're going somewhere with it. I feel like they're building Rusev back up, and Sheamus is always great for a good hard-hitting match. With the Aleister Black and the Damian Priest thing, I'm just like, man, come on already. Throw them in a Hell in a Cell, let them kill each other, and call it a day. Let them do something else.
Okay. All right, so the next match is between Michin and Kiana James. All right, so both ladies make their way to the ring. The bell rings. Kiana goes to hit Michin with the briefcase. Misses. Michin rolls her up. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Post-match, Julia and Kiana beat up Michin. And obviously we're going to get a Michin versus Julia match soon.
Can't wait for that one. Knock that off the bucket list, I guess.
Well, anything to add to that 7-second match?
No. Why? That's what I have to add to it. Why? Can anybody tell me why?
All right, so after that 7 minutes of high class television, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, Drew McIntyre promo. He asks Michael Cole for a medical update on Cody because Michael is always kissing Cody's ass. Needless to say, there's no update. The crowd is singing for Drew, but then Orton's music hits and the crowd starts singing Orton's theme. Drew is trying to get into Randy's head, reminds him of Randy hesitating at their match at King of the Ring, says Cody Rhodes is not really Orton's friend. If he believes it, then he's an idiot. Orton didn't RKO Drew for last week for Cody. He did it because Drew's a prick. Drew delivers the Glasgow kiss, misses a Claymore, eats a second rope DDT, but there's no RKO. Instead, we get a bunch of officials come out, and they start taking RKOs. And poor Gregory Helms, the Hurricane, got RKO'd just for trying to, settle Randy down. Randy should have stood back because there was a hurricane coming through, but instead he RKO'd it.
Yeah, I hope there is a hurricane coming through. I want to see, after this, I want to see Hurricane come back and challenge. Throw the challenge down. That's what I want to see. WrestlePalooza, what do you say?
Book that shit. Backstage, we got Melo Dome Miz. They argue over needing each other. And again, Bo Dallas shows up. Says perception isn't reality, but he is. Aldis yells at Randy for attacking the officials. Randy apologizes, then gives Nick a fireball. Mosley, do you like fireball?
No.
I like fireball.
I know
In
you
fact,
do.
I just had the most recent one. Fireball just released a new one. They had an apple flavored fireball.
I saw that advertised, yeah.
Yeah, blazing apple. I actually enjoyed it. It's very fruity. I liked it. Yeah, it tastes like spicy apple, so to speak.
I think Fireball is a little bit too cinnamon for me. I mean, it literally tastes like you're drinking big red gum.
Yes, absolutely.
And I like cinnamon. I don't particularly like my alcoholic beverages to be spicy. I'd rather my Slim Jims be spicy. But yeah, I've drank it before. I wouldn't turn down a shot of it if somebody offered one or whatever, but I'm not going to go out of my way to buy a bottle of Fireball. Man,
I'm going to have to hold you to it because I could have sworn you turned me down for Fireballs in years past at a certain house while, a legend of a certain character was playing.
I probably have. I mean, I've probably turned. I'm not saying that I wouldn't turn it down, but I'm also saying that on certain instances I wouldn't accept it.
Fair enough.
We'll put it that way.
Hadouken.
God bless you.
All right, so we have a match. Melo Dome Miz versus the Street Profits. Ford hits an angle slam, which got a surprise out of me. And then there was this great spot where we had trade-offs of frog splashes where Montez Ford hits one on one of the, I think it was on the Miz. And then, yeah, it was on the Miz because immediately after that, Carmelo Hayes hits one onto Montez Ford. It was just like one right after the other. That was cool. These boys are bouncy, and it was great. The Wyatt Six shows up to distract a bunch of people, but in the end, the Street Profits hit their finish and go over, thus making them number one contenders. I was really surprised they put out this match. The day before the event, they added another match, and then I'm going to regret my pick for that match because I was like, why do it so late? But That's what happened. What do you think? Did you enjoy Melo Dome Miz and the Street Profits, or was it the drizzling shits?
I wouldn't call it the drizzling shits, but, it was more like a solid turd that you've been waiting to get out for the past 4.5 hours, and you finally do. So it wasn't terrible, but I'm not really into. I think Melo Dome Miz, and I mentioned this on the last episode we did, is more of a comedy act, which is fine in certain cases, but you've got the Street Profits who are trying to be more serious, and they're making a serious kind of a bid for we want the titles back, and then you've got this comedy piece. I don't know. It's not piquing my interest, Slick Vic.
All right, we have a quick backstage segment with Jade Cargill telling Tiffany Stratton that she's now the number one contender, so she's coming after her title, or Jade referred to it as her title. So, no, that's going to be a match soon, probably at WrestlePalooza. And then finally, we're in our main event. Sami Zayn versus Solo Sikoa for the U.S. title. All right, so that spinning Uranagi rock bottom move that Solo does, smooth, like butter. Good stuff. But other than that, I don't really have much to highlight about this match. I mean, Sami did a lot of selling like he normally does. But then the MFT show up and they gang up on Sami. Big Jim appears. Jacob Fatu appears. There's a lot of fighting outside the ring. And Sami hits 2 Helluva kicks and wins the title, which I thought was very surprising. So props for that, for making it surprising. I did not see that coming. And they win. Now, before I throw it over to you, I want to say that, this match made me miss. Let me start over. About 6 months ago, we had a different version of the Bloodline, or the MFT, so to speak, with Solo, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu. Now we got Solo, Tangaloa, and JC Mateo, along with Tala Tonga. Taller Tonga. And this made me really, really miss Jacob and Tama Tonga, particularly Tama, because he's not in the picture anymore at all. I think he got hurt because I missed the whole yeah gimmick. I thought it was fun because Tonga Loa shows no personality. Tala Tonga just kind of, snarls and grunts. And Jacob Fatu is JC Mateo is just kind of there. Anyways, your thoughts on the last half or last portion, last few segments of SmackDown?
I'm with you, man. It was a surprise to see Sammy win the title here. Especially because a lot of people, and even you included, you've asked me before, do I see him going for the world title? I don't really see that happening. Maybe they'll do it, but I don't know how well it would go over. But this made me think maybe they're prepping him for it. I don't know. I think that I don't think Solo needed to be United States champion. I thought it was better when that title was on Jacob. Because I felt like Jacob, he's sort of hot right now, and it highlights the championship as well, the fact that he's holding it. So it's weird. It's kind of weird to think about where they go from here, because it's one thing to have a big, exciting moment, a surprising moment, but it's a different story when you say, well, what are you going to do the next day? Because we know this is a revolving door, Slick Vic. They're going to have another show, and something else is going to have to happen, and where does it go from here? I don't know. But yeah, it was surprising, and I liked that element of surprise for sure.
Okay. Well, that, as I said, that wraps up SmackDown from August 29th in Lyon, France. So I am going to begin the review for Clash in Paris. I will start us off with the first three matches, and then Mosley will tackle the last three matches of that match of this
I'm
card.
gonna tag in halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get the hot tag too, because I'm sure people are just sick of hearing me and their comment, my commentary. But
No.
anyways, first thing I want to say is I loved the stage setup for this show with the Eiffel Tower and the entranceway. That was pretty cool. That was
really
slick.
cool. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't too much. They just had the Eiffel Tower lit up, all kinds of lights. It wasn't a big blowout top setting, but it looked really, really good.
Yes.
I liked it.
The wrestlers came from underneath the legs of the Eiffel Tower. It was good stuff.
Yep.
So, match one, we have Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. Well, as expected, well, yeah, Roman is super over in France. He's super over everywhere he goes now. I think everyone loves the Tribal Chief. I would dare say Roman Reigns is the biggest babyface on the show. And this made me think, can anyone have a match with Roman Reigns right now that would split the crowd the way that The Rock and Hogan did at WrestleMania 18? I don't know if any name comes to mind with you right now. It doesn't have to be a current wrestler. It could be any wrestler that's like still physically able to go.
That would split the crowd. We're going to have to write that down and maybe come back to that, because that's a very interesting topic, I think, Slick Vic.
Okay.
I can't think of any right off the top of my head either. I mean, the closest you would probably come to it is Cody, but we know how that's going. People are starting to kind of turn on Cody a little bit, I think. So, yeah, but definitely not a Hogan Rock level of turn.
Okay. So I felt like this match was a big man versus big man match, a bit of a hoss fight, but they gave the edge to Bronson a little more after all, because he is the bigger dude. But man, I got to tell you, this was a slow paced match. This was a long match, which is kind of par for the course with Roman Reigns. But I usually find myself a little more excited than what I got here. Bronson's offense is just not that exciting, to be honest with you. And I was just a bit bored, and I was just waiting for Roman to make his big comeback against Bronson. And eventually that did happen. We got the Superman punch with that, which was countered into a Death Valley driver. I will give Bronson that was nice. Also, eventually there's a point in the match where he counters a spear by just taking it and then powerbombing him. Also, I don't know if you caught this. Did Bronson reference Batista with the thumbs up, thumbs down taunt? Did you catch that at all? I don't know if you did or not. At one point, I looked like, he went like this, then like this.
Yeah, I don't know if he was referencing Batista there, but maybe.
Anyways, the suicide dive by Bronson is scary. Gets a lot of mass coming right at you. And but then yeah, Roman eventually, makes his comeback, as I mentioned, hits a spear. 1, 2, 3. As I said, overall, boring match, too long, which is common. But post-match, Roman gets his shoes back from Heyman, which is cool. In a nice little moment, he chokes out Heyman with the guillotine. Roman then starts signing the shoes and throwing them in the crowd. Talk about a collector's item. If you have any of those shoes right now, man, you're going to... I should have checked like the day after if they're on eBay or not, but nonetheless, this is where, first of all, before I go into the rest of the post-match, well, actually, I'm going to go right to the post-match, but then Braun Breaker just shows up out of nowhere and spears Roman through a table. That was freaking cool. What was not cool, though, was the long beatdown after the match. How long did they beat down? Roman's beatdown post-match was longer than his entrance. And that says a lot. Yeah. I like Cole. He was like, somebody get the damn cops out here. And then Jay eventually gets involved and he suffers the consequences for it. And I think I said this last time too. I freaking hate it when all these officials come out and Bronson Reed just climbs the top rope and all they're doing is just like waving at him saying, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And he does it. It's freaking stupid.
Yeah, you had it on the last week's episode because I was listening to it after I'd posted it and everything, and I got to that part and I laughed because you got to that particular thing with the security coming out and you said probably 5 or 6 times, this is stupid. This is stupid. I hate it. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you again, Mosley. This is stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So that post-match beatdown went on way too long, almost as long as the damn match.
Yeah.
Anyways, your thoughts on Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns opening Clash in Paris?
I mean, I agree with you, man. It's kind of like a weird thing where you wanted to see Roman get his revenge on the tribal thief, and you wanted to see Roman get his shoes back. But it ends in a match where it's just not that exciting, and that's unfortunate considering what you said a moment ago. Like, who would they get the Hogan and Rock pop out of with Roman? Okay, well, that's one half of your equation there that you're putting in a match opening the show, and this is what you get out of it? I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe just not really a well-produced match. Maybe they could have saved it for some other show, some other time. I don't know. It just didn't feel right. Something was off there. I agree with you. And it was slow, and everything about it was just sort of, this is how they start the show. You want to start off the show with a bang. This was not a bang. So
there was a few banger moments, but other than that, there was a long wait. There was a lot of waiting, few and far between those. Anyways, sure. But I think if the rumors are to be said, this is to write off Roman Reigns while he films Street Fighter.
Yeah, makes sense.
But the guy's part time anyways. It's not like if he was gone for 3 months, we wouldn't know the difference. Yeah. So next match, we have a tag team match here between the Street Profits challenging the Wyatt Six, particularly Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis for the WWE Tag Team Championship. So, what did you think of the entrance? Let me start off here. We have. Are you a fan of Borderlands?
I might get some heat for this, but no. not by choice. It's not like I've played them all and I hate them. It's just that I haven't really played them. So I played a little bit of, I think, Borderlands 3, and just, I guess, at the time, it wasn't the right time or place, and I didn't get into it. So, no. Unfortunately, no, I'm not.
I've never played the games, to be honest with you, so I can't judge it one way or another. But when I heard that it was Borderlands 4, I'm like, wow, there's 4 of them?
Yeah.
All right, cool. But then the Wyatt Six had a really cool entrance as well, with all the fireflies in the cloud. The crowd, there was a whole bunch of fireflies floating about in France. So the match starts, and is there dissension between the Street Profits? Because it looked like at times they were kind of like, showing signs of animosity towards each other.
I think so, yeah.
So Montez backflips away and Dexter slithers after him, which I thought was really cool. Dexter hits a really nice standing leg drop. Gacy and Dexter actually have a lot of good chemistry, and I don't know why we don't see them wrestle more often on TV. I mean, the Wyatts are just, I mean, maybe they shouldn't wrestle every week, but give us a little more of them. They were doing some really cool offense together. Anyways, the Wyatt Six go over with the help of the rest of the Wyatt Six. Not much to say here. It felt like a SmackDown match, to be honest with you, but with an added big move or two, like Dawkins hits a Swanton bomb, which, yeah, in and of itself is, I want to say unique, but a lot of big men do Swanton bombs. The first one comes to mind is Kevin Owens. But what do you think of this match?
Man, I don't really have anything to say about it. I mean, like, it was. I didn't write any notes for this match. I'll just go ahead and I didn't write down any thoughts for it because I didn't know what to think about it. I think that I'm not into the Street Profits, dude. I think the best thing they could do is split up and I think that when they split up, you're probably going to have a situation where one fades into obscurity and one kind of gets a big push. And I think you can pretty much pick out which one is which there.
B-Fab, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But no, I like the Wyatts. I'm glad that they're the champions. I'm glad that they have been sort of more in the picture. But man, I can't get into any of these matches they're having. I don't know what it is. It's just like I like them and I want to like them and I want to enjoy the matches, but I find myself just sitting there, with my head in my hands a little bit. So yeah, nothing of substance or subsistence to add there, Vic.
Anyways, so the third match on the card for the Women's Intercontinental Championship match, we have Becky Lynch defending against Nikki Bella. Now, I was trying to pay attention to the crowd here because I felt like Becky was getting a good amount of cheers, and Nikki was getting some boos at times too. And I wasn't surprised because I don't know. No matter how much Michael Cole wants to tell us how much of a trailblazer Nikki was, I don't buy it. Anyways, The match was terrible. I'm just going to come out and say right away, the match was terrible. There was one spot where Nikki is bouncing Becky's heads off the announce tables where Becky is just kind of throwing her hands on the tables like this one at a time, just yeah. Pounding her hands. She's almost yeeting onto the tables. And I swear there was a time or two.
Maybe she was fortune telling. Maybe she was trying to look into the future a little bit.
Yeah, she's like, I can't wait for this match to end. That's what she was looking at.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, I swear there was a time or two where Becky just kept doing it, even though Nikki stopped with the bouncing. And then Nikki goes for what looked like a disaster kick and just hits nothing. Or, maybe she was aiming for John Cena.
Could have been.
She thought she saw him, but, you can't see John Cena.
Yeah.
Because, she just went up and did a bounce and a kick and hit nothing. And Becky was like, but 20 feet away. So, but I will say this. I will say this. There was her STF looked pretty good. I'll give Nikki that. Her STF looked pretty good. So props for that. But then she hits Becky with a manhandle slam and that looked freaking terrible. So let's just say a lot of ring rust on Nikki Bella. That's a nice way to say it. Put it that way. Because Becky has done a great job of carrying legends to great matches in the last few years. The best one being Trish Stratus. I've said this before. I think she gave Trish Stratus the best match of her entire career in that cage match from a couple of years ago. Cage match or Hell in a Cell. I can't remember what it was. But anyways, that was the best Trish Stratus match I think ever.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Yeah, match sucks. Becky goes over with a roll up. And your thoughts?
Did we expect anything more?
Well, As I said, I thought Becky she's got a good job of carrying some veterans. Maybe, just maybe, she can lead Nikki through a match that's passable.
Yeah. I, having been in this game for a while, I'm old enough to remember when there were fans. I knew some gals who were fans of Nikki Bella, Brie Bella. They were big into the Bella twins. I never was into them. I never thought that they were any kind of trailblazers. They just happened to be the most popular girls on the roster during a time that was pretty lame and pretty boring. And the women's revolution really hadn't started at that point. It was sort of a weird transition between the Attitude Era of you got some gals who are actually pretty good in the ring, but we can't get away from these bra and panty matches to have anything serious, to what we have now, which is a really strong women's division across the board. They kind of fell in the middle of that when it was like PG era starting up, but we really don't have any very super talented girls to work with. They just happened to be the most popular at the time. So, props to Nikki for signing up to do this. Props to her for, I'm sure she trained a little bit to try to get back into the groove. And props to her for, showing up and doing what she did, as sloppy as it may have been. But I don't think anybody saw her winning this match, and I don't think that it does anything at all for Becky to beat Nikki Bella. Hopefully if she shows back up, it won't be to wrestle. And that's it. It's my thoughts.
Excellent. Well, Mr. Mosley, it is now time I turned over the mic to you to cover the rest of Clash in Paris as well as Raw.
So the next match on the card for Clash in Paris was the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. And I also want to add that this week, because Slick Vic mentioned to me before that he took his notes on his phone, I started taking my notes on my phone instead of writing them down. And I have a lot more notes. So I hope this doesn't end up being super boring, but I have a lot more as far as like play-by-play type notes. I'll try to go through it as quickly as I possibly can, but I don't know. You guys let us know how it ends up sounding and all that good stuff. So, a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. I wasn't sure what this match was. I think we talked about it last episode, what the hell a Donnybrook match was, and my assumption was that it would basically be a no disqualification match of some description, and that's essentially what we got here. Prior to the match, this was, Rusev versus Sheamus, obviously. Prior to the match, we get an explanation for what the match will be. No disqualification, no countouts, no holds barred. Win by pin or submission, has to be in the ring. We see various Irish-themed items around the ring to be used as weapons for this match. And it's sort of trying to make it to where you feel like you're in an Irish bar. I guess that's what a Donnybrook is. Is that what a Donnybrook is, Slick Vic?
I think that defines it pretty well there, Mr. Mosley. I just wish one of them took the barrels and threw them like Donkey Kong.
I did too. Yeah, that was a big one for me. Yeah, I wanted somebody to... I'll get around to that. But yeah, that was definitely a thought. All right, so again, my play-by-play is going to be a little bit long here, but I tried to get as much in as I can. I was just typing as I was watching. It was a lot easier on the phone deal. So we get to the match. The two start trading punches. It spills outside of the ring. Sheamus sets up a beefy, spicy Slim Jim table. Then Rusev sets up another one next to it. And, of course, as is sort of the common theme here, somebody sets up a table and then they completely abandon it. Until later, obviously, they're going to get around to it at some point. But they set up the tables and then they fight away from the tables and back into the ring with Sheamus grabbing his shillelagh. Rusev catches him, delivers the 10 beats of the Bower, and I don't know what you would call it considering Rusev's delivering here, but that's what he was doing. He was doing Sheamus's move to him. Then a little bit later, you get Sheamus. He botches an Irish Curse backbreaker, but follows up with a connected one. I don't know if you caught that slick, Vic, but the first one, he kind of botched it. Sheamus works on Rusev with the kendo stick, grabs a couple chairs from outside of the ring. Rusev hits a spinning heel kick to the chair Sheamus is holding, smashing it into his face, then goes to work on Sheamus with the chair. Rusev kicks Sheamus repeatedly while he hulks up, while Sheamus is doing his Hulk up deal. And I've got in parentheses, someone grab a goddamn barrel already. This is where I wanted to see him grab the barrel and sling it. Sheamus hits his 10 beats of the Bowery. Both are on the outside of the ring now. Sheamus is thrown over the bar. They've got like a wooden bar set up gimmick outside of the ring, but recovers with 10 beats again across the bar. So Sheamus gets Rusev from behind the bar, hits the 10 beats on him there. There's so many beats. There's like 1,000 beats in this match, okay, of the Bowery. Rusev tries to leave over the barricade. Sheamus catches him and hits 10 beats again, this time with a shillelagh in hand. That was pretty brutal. Back in the ring, near fall after Sheamus runs Rusev into a corner chair, into a corner chair. So Rusev had set up a chair in the corner earlier as well, and they kind of abandoned that. So this is when they get around back to that chair. And then Sheamus hits the Irish Cross, which is essentially a razor's edge. But he misses the follow-up broke kick. Sheamus jumps off the top turnbuckle to the floor, but Rusev hits him with the kendo stick as he comes down. Rusev attacks with the steps, then slams Sheamus through the wooden bar that was knocked over earlier. Back in the ring, Rusev gets the accolade on Sheamus, but he powers up into a backdrop onto some chairs to break the hold. Outside the ring, again, the two climb atop the barrels. So here we get some barrel usage. It's not the barrel usage that I or Vic wanted to see, apparently, but they are doing something with the barrels. They climb on top of them. And Sheamus hits, Rusev gets the accolade on top of the barrels, but Sheamus breaks it and hits the white noise off of the barrels through the Slim Jim tables from earlier. So the two Slim Jim tables that were set up earlier, finally they get to breaking them. Back in the ring, Rusev, this is a wild match. Back in the ring, Rusev grabs a shillelagh, but gets broke kicked into oblivion by Sheamus. It was a hell of a broke kick. And only gets a 2 count. The two trade running kicks and knees. Rusev breaks a shillelagh across Sheamus' back for a 2 count. Rusev locks in the accolade, using the shillelagh for extra leverage and gets Sheamus to tap out. So, those are my play-by-play notes. And what an ending here, Vic. I had a feeling that Rusev would take this one, and I'm kind of glad he did. Both guys came out still looking super strong and resilient. The themed furniture and weapons around the ring were used well. I dig it. I think that, I'm just now realizing that the match was a theme of an Irish bar fight. That's what they were trying to get across here, and I didn't know that until now. I wish they would have done a little better job in hyping this, but I thought it was a solid match, man. Halfway through the match, I was like, man, they need to get to using some of this stuff. And they did. They ended up using a lot of it. They didn't throw any barrels, but they used the barrels. So, I could complain, but I'm not going to. I thought it was a solid match. Vic, what do you think?
I had fun with this one. I liked watching Sheamus, hit his signature moves, like the belt 10 beats of the Bowery, using the shillelagh. Honestly, I think he really outshined Rusev in this match. And I was really disappointed, actually, to see Rusev win this match, to be honest with you. But some of the spots, like the bar, the fighting at that little makeshift bar they got there was fun. He hit that Irish curse through the tables off the top of the barrels. Ooh, man, that looked devastating. But I will say this, I wasn't a fan of the finishing accolade. The accolade he hit on top of the barrel was cool, but the one he hit at the end where he was bending backwards, or Sheamus is like leaning backwards, I don't know, it did not look not look that great to me. But I still had fun with this match. Unfortunately, I had chosen the wrong victor. That was no pun intended. But yeah, that bro kick he hit onto Rusev was oof. Took his head off.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Overall, like I said, I had fun with this one. I really thought Sheamus was going to win because Rusev's been here, since post WrestleMania? Has he done anything of note, really? Besides beat up, underneath guys, not even underneath guys, like people that would show up on main event. So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, to counter that, Vic, I'm glad that's why he won, because I've been wanting them to build Rusev back up to his former glory for a long time, and I think this was a step in the right direction for that. I love Sheamus too. I love Sheamus. But it's sort of a surprise ending here, seeing as how it was Irish themed. So Sheamus sort of had the home field advantage, but he still came up short. So interesting to see how we're going to roll out from the end of this match going forward with these two. If they continue to do anything, I kind of hope they do, actually. But that was it. That was the big Donnybrook match. And then we're going to move on to Logan Paul versus John Cena. So this is John Cena's big match at Clash in Paris. And they've been hyping this up for a few weeks now. We'll get into some of the play-by-play here. So Logan hits several big moves to Cena, some that he hasn't used before. This is a common theme throughout this match. A stalling vertical suplex, a gut-wrench suplex. He gets a 2 count out of all of it. Every time he hits a move, he goes for the pin, he gets a 2 count. There are lots of breaks between moves here, and then Cena fires back with a big clothesline. Both guys are down. Cena hits the shoulder tackles, the 5-knuckle shuffle, but Logan wiggles off the shoulders of the follow-up AA. So Cena's doing his normal thing that he always does in all of his matches to end it with an AA, but Logan gets out. And then Logan ends up hitting a frog splash attempt, but Cena raised the knees. Then he hits an AA, but only gets a 2. I got in parentheses here, no one expected this to get a 3 count because of overused finishers. So we've talked about that before, especially during the SummerSlam match between Cody and Cena. How there were way too many finishers used in that match. And now they've been diluted so much that nobody is going down to 1 AA. I don't think Akira Tozawa would go down to 1 AA at this point.
I was going to say, when's the last time you saw Cena win with just 1 AA?
I know, and that's a problem. I kind of hate it now. But then you get some more back and forth. Cena gets the STF on Logan, who makes it to the rope. Cena hits a tornado DDT, 2 count. Logan with an overbomb. Is that what they called it? Is it called an overbomb, where you do a power bomb, but instead of slamming them on their back, you fall on your back and smash their face in behind your head?
I don't recall a name. I don't recall a name but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it kind of sounded like they said overbomb. I'm not sure if you knew that or not, Slick Vic. But he goes for the pin after this move. Gets a 2 count. There's some more back and forth, eventually leading to punches traded, which appears to have connected one on Logan's face as his nose is busted. So we get the camera on Logan's face shortly after all of this fiasco, and there's blood all over his face. Cena's tagged him somewhere along the line. Logan attempts the 5-knuckle shuffle himself, but gets countered into another AA by Cena, which, again, only gets a 2 count. My God. Logan hits the big right hand, but only gets a 2 count. Logan hits 2 frog splashes after this. Only gets a 2 count. Logan hits the 5-knuckle attempts. Well, Logan hits the 5-knuckle, attempts an AA. So Logan hits it, but then he attempts an AA. Cena counters into a Styles Clash. This was a big moment for this match. I know a lot of people were talking about Cena hitting the Styles Clash on Logan Paul. Cena then attempted a super AA from the turnbuckle, but Logan hit the crossbody, but Cena rose through into a third AA, followed by a 4th for the win. 4 AAs it took to take out Logan Paul. It took about 17 or 18 to take out Cody Rhodes, if I remember correctly. I may be over-exaggerating there, but... All right, so that was it, man. Cena wins that one. My thoughts. Though the crowd was very into this match, heavily favoring Cena, I couldn't get over the routine of one big move or counter move, followed by laying around for 30 to 45 seconds the whole match. This kind of killed it for me. I know a lot of people were really hyping up this match and saying it was the best match of the night, and it was so good and this and that. I expected that we would get a decent match with some good high spots from Logan, but watching the match and having going through it start to finish, you can't help but notice every time they would hit a big move, then they would rest for 2 minutes. They'd just be laying around, and then they'd get up and hit another big move, and then they'd be laying around for another 2 minutes. I don't know, that kind of killed me about it. Logan Paul pulled off many moves he's never used before here, and many of them were borrowed signature moves from other former WWE superstars who Michael Cole actually named. I was surprised by that. He named Cesaro, he named Dolph Ziggler, which was cool to see Logan's skill kind of growing. He actually executed these moves really well, I thought. And then Cena. Cena also hit several big moves that he rarely uses, even using the Styles Clash towards the end. All of this was exciting to see, but I feel like the constant resting was taking away from it a bit for me. And then we get after the match, Cena was celebrating with many people, including the kid he insulted a few months back was there, his wife. This whole ending celebration seemed to go long, and usually when this is happening, you expect something to follow it up, and me personally, I was expecting an appearance from Brock Lesnar, but that didn't happen. You pretty much get Cena celebrating for 5 minutes, and then on to whatever's next. And that was the match. Slick Vic, your thoughts?
Well, I know you didn't like this match as much as I did because this was my favorite match of the night. I enjoyed this match immensely. First of all, before the main event, I like how Cole, this isn't probably new anymore, but Michael Cole was giving updates on Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. He actually used the word hospital, not medical facility, which I'm like, oh my God, oh, we're moving on. That's not on the banned words list anymore. That's cool. I like the octopus stretch that Logan Paul hit on John. I think this was like the second octopus stretch we've seen all weekend, but it was cool. Mm-hmm. I think the move stealing was intentional at some points. Like, there was the zigzag, there was the Cesaro uppercuts. Do you remember when John Cena hit that pipe bomb promo on CM Punk? He thought, he's like, oh, I'm breaking the fourth wall. Hey, Nick Nemeth. Hey, Claudio Castagnoli.
Yeah.
He said somebody else, and what do you know? They hit their moves tonight. But that's not all. I mean, John Cena not only did hit that Styles Clash, he hit the Code Red, which I love how they said, oh, it's Roxanne's Pop Rocks.
Yep.
Anyways, when Logan Paul did the You Can't See Me taunt, and then he hits the punch, he missed it by about 5 feet. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
John Cena misses it by about that much too sometimes. It's just freaking hilarious. But, I love the Styles Clash spot. I popped really hard for that. And overall, yeah, John Cena winning with that AA combination was cool. I enjoyed this match a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. And as I mentioned, favorite match of the night.
All right, well, fair enough, Vic. I'll give you that. This was a lot of people's favorite match, and it wasn't that it was a bad match. I think that sometimes when I watch these matches, one thing that I notice repeating over and over can kind of take me out of it. Maybe it's OCD or something that I have watching these things, but obviously it was going to be a slower match because you got to slow down for John Cena. That's his thing. He doesn't have very super fast matches or anything, but yeah, that kind of took it out. It took me out of it a little bit. But all right, fair play. We'll move on to the Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship. We got Seth Rollins, who is the champion, versus CM Punk versus LA Knight versus Jey Uso. All right. Did anybody expect Seth to walk out without his belt this endeavor? I don't think so. Um, little play by play here. So match starts. Everybody's beating down Rollins. Punk hits Jay with a get the tables throwback to the old Team 3D slash, um, you know, that whole thing with the ECW and fucking Bubba Ray and Devon, and I don't know. I don't know why they necessarily did that. Was that supposed to be like hyping up the upcoming match between the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys or something? I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, but it was a nice little touch. So he does to get the tables, and that seems to go unrealized by the crowd. I don't know if you noticed that, Vic, but he did the get the tables thing, and the crowd just did not sell it at all.
Well, the crowd might not have gotten as much, but Wade Barrett did, because Wade Barrett gave Spike Dudley a shout out, which I loved, because he was like, we have three people setting up the tables here, which is both Bubba, Devon, and Spike.
I missed that part, but yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. That's a nice little touch there.
Yeah.
We get let's see, Jay. Okay, so they go out to the ringside. They start to set up the tables, and then Jay hits CM Punk with a super kick after the table is set up. So once again, we're not going to use the tables just yet. Jay, LA Knight, and Rollins fight through the crowd. Then Punk and Rollins come back in the ring brawling. Knight and Rollins in with some good back and forth here, but Jay and Punk hop in. LA Knight takes them out. I wrote that Knight looks really good during this sequence. It makes me realize that I would love to see him with a title run. I've been saying that forever, but Knight's one of my guys. So LA Knight knocks CM Punk off the. I got my notes wrong here. I put off the table onto the table. He knocked him off the edge of the ring. So Punk was standing outside the ropes on the ring apron. LA Knight knocks him off onto the table, but it doesn't break. It kind of like halfway breaks, and CM Punk just kind of flops over into the floor. At this point, CM Punk's down. He's going to be down for a while, which I thought was silly. I mean, literally 5 or 6 minutes goes by with Punk just laying out there after this botched table spot. LA Knight avoids a stomp from Rollins, but hits a BFT to Rollins. Again, a finisher. That gets a 2 count. Knight goes for a flying elbow from the top rope through Rollins on the French announce table, but Rollins is able to roll out of the way, causing LA Knight to crash through the table, and Knight is down. So now we got CM Punk down and LA Knight. Jay follows up with an attack on Rollins in the ring, and there's some back and forth between the two. Punk is back in at this point with an attempted pin on Jay, which is thwarted by Rollins, who hits a stomp to Punk, only gets the 2 count. Rollins is berating Punk in the ring, hits a stomp to Jay and Knight on the outside for good measure. So goes ahead and takes care of them, makes sure they won't be involved again. He sets up a chair in the ring with Rollins' head on it and goes for a stomp, but Wait a second. Sets up a chair in the ring with Rollins' head on it. Rollins berating Punk. Is that right, Vic?
Yeah. No, it was the other way around. CM Punk's head is Pillmanized on the chair.
Okay, so yeah. I got my notes are a little bit wonky here, but you get the point. There's a head in a chair and a stomp.
Because when Seth hits it and misses, he starts cursing a storm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what one does when they step their foot on a chair.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
So Punk follows through with a GTS and is about to hit another when Becky Lynch hits the ring, disguised, and gives Punk a low blow. So we see this masked, disguised warrior hit the ring and rack CM Punk right in the nads, and it ends up being Becky Lynch. After this, Rollins hits a stomp onto the chair to Punk for the win. And, of course, Rollins retains the championship. My thoughts of this match. Same problem with these matches as triple threats, where most of the time it's two guys fighting while the others are laying out somewhere getting a breather, and it just seems fake. This was especially apparent to me whenever CM Punk was knocked off the apron, didn't quite go through the table, but then he laid there for 6 or 7 minutes. When more or all are involved, it's a bit too much to keep up with. So, you got a triple threat or a fatal four-way. When everybody's brawling, you can't tell what's going on. But on the flip side of that coin, when only two are brawling, you can't help but notice the other two guys are just laying around somewhere. I don't know. Despite this, the match was pretty solid with some good high points. The ending was expected, but the interference by Becky was a surprise. I think this is the first time ever that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have been in an angle together on screen, as they are officially in real life married. They've never been together, ever, on screen. They've mentioned each other sometimes, but they've never been in some sort of feud or, whatever. And I wrote, interesting going forward. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of Clash in Paris. It ends on a high note with a surprising interference by Becky Lynch, and now she is firmly in the corner of Seth Rollins, her husband. Slick Vic, give us your thoughts on this main event World Championship title match.
I like how the heels gained up. The L gained up on Rollins at the beginning. I thought that was cool. You got three baby faces and one heel, and the heel's the world champion. I mentioned this earlier. The shout out to Spike Dudley when the three of them were trying to set up a table. That was fun. And I don't remember seeing Knight take such a big bump when he did that elbow drop from that second rope through the announcer's table. And we're gonna talk about Raw the next day, but he was all taped up the next day, so I thought that was a good touch. There was a moment where CM Punk hits the GTS on Jey Uso, but it's broken up by the stomp by Rollins. That was a good touch. And I was really surprised by the ending. We didn't talk about this, but there was a segment where Adam Pearce banned Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed from entering this match, causing interference. So who helps? Becky Lynch helps.
Right.
I did not see that coming, but I'm glad I did. So, because I'm curious to see I'm curious. I think I know where this is going. I'm curious. I'm eager to see it play out. But I have to correct you, Mosley. This is not the first time Seth and Becky have teamed up and have been acknowledged as a couple on screen. There was that period where I remember a match between Seth and Becky versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. I don't know if you remember her.
Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah, they had like a brief little feud there. That match.
Okay.
Baron Corbin hits Becky with the End of Days. But
I don't remember that, but I mean, Baron Corbin is one of the most bland guys I've ever had to watch. So
yeah,
it's not surprising that didn't cross my radar.
Lacey Evans didn't exactly leave a big mark on the industry either.
I liked Lacey Evans. I think that who's that gal in AEW right now? She's one of the top gals in AEW. She does the whole old school
Timeless Tony Storm.
I feel like Lacey Evans was sort of doing that before her, and it just didn't work out.
I don't know. I always thought of Lacey Evans as like this jacked up pinup doll from the 50s, exactly. Whereas Timeless Tony Storm is like a old school Hollywood starlet from like the 30s.
Yeah, Timeless Tony Storm, she's the second coming of Mildred Burke.
So anyways, those are my thoughts.
That's it. That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how to say goodbye in French. Maybe I'll look it up. Let's see. Goodbye in French. Google, tell me. Au revoir.
Au revoir. I believe we're pronouncing it right. Press the microphone button so you can hear how it's pronounced.
Au revoir, everybody.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au
Maybe.
revoir.
I don't know.
I think it's revoir. I think you got to put the R in there, Vic. But anyway, that's Clash in Paris, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, as I mentioned before, with Slick Vic and his picks, normally we would do these as the review is going on at the end of each match. We may have got ahead of ourselves a little bit, but I think that it worked out to our advantage because now we're going to get to see what it's like to do this after we do the review. So we're going to do a quick recap here from last week's picks from Slick Vic, and it was an interesting segment last week, Vic, because this was the second coming of Slick Vic's picks. The first time, you didn't do so well. You did okay. You were half and half. You were at a 50% margin here for the picks. So I know that you were just distraught over this. You had to go scour the globe for some way, somehow you had to find some way to peer into the future. And by doing so, you found the old crystal ball. And last week we saw the use of the crystal ball for Slick Vic's picks. By the way, we're just going to play a little theme here while we talk about this because the crystal ball really brought everything together. Slick Vic's picks from last week. And we're going to have to go over it. Once again, we're going to go through each match here. We're going to talk winners and losers and whether Slick Vic is a winner or a loser. And we'll let you all decide. Slick Vic's a winner in my book no matter what, but let's kill that. And so Slick Vic, before we really jump into this, we skipped over some things. I think we jumped into this episode really quickly tonight. One of the things that we skipped over was your weekly props on your desk back there. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this on either the video on Spotify and or YouTube, which this episode will be put up on later. I fully intend to get this episode on YouTube, complete with the video. You get to see what Slick Vic has this week on his desk. It's an ever-evolving subject here on Wrestling with Power. What do you got for us this week, Vic?
Mr. Mosley, have you ever seen Hellraiser?
Yes.
Do you remember what summons the Cenobites?
I don't know what it's called, but yes, I remember it. It's some kind of cube device.
Does that
right there it is.
Look familiar to you?
It looks familiar.
This is the Lament configuration, which is...
Lament configuration, okay.
That is correct. Unfortunately, this is just a replica. It does not allow me to actually move the puzzle box around, which, thank God, because I don't want Pinhead showing up here.
Do you really want the Chatterer showing up in your house?
I don't need the Chatterer, I don't need Pinhead, and I don't need any of the other Cenobites to show up. Because I'm already living in hell. I don't need to be taken to whatever hell they've got for me.
Oh, come on now. Will you stop?
Anyways, Hellraiser 1 is still my favorite of the bunch. I think there's like 10 of them now, plus a reboot on Hulu, which is actually really good. I recommend checking it out. Okay. The first Hellraiser is my favorite. Second one, a lot of people really, really like the second one. Like some people prefer that to the original one. I think it's good, but not as good. I'm not going to go through the whole series, but the third one's crap. The fourth one is Hellraiser in Space, which has its moments. And then Hellraiser 5 through 8, though that's 5 movies, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those were not originally Hellraiser movies. Those were just scripts that were touched up to insert the Lament configuration and Pinhead, thus becoming Hellraiser movies.
Gotcha. Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I recommend going back and watching Hellraiser 1. And if you enjoy it, go watch Hellraiser 2. If you want to torture yourself, go watch Hellraiser 3. And if you feel like going further, go watch Hellraiser 4. But also do not neglect the 2022 Hulu reboot, just called Hellraiser.
I will have to watch that later. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that tonight, Vic.
Yeah. One final thing to say. Last year at there was a horror convention locally happening here, and my wife and I actually met Clive Barker. Clive Barker is the author of the book. He also wrote and directed the first Hellraiser movie, and he was a very nice man. Very, very nice man.
All right, Slick Vic. So let's go ahead and jump into the picks here. We're looking at Clash in Paris. So the first match of the night, that would have been Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. And remind us, Vic, who did you have to pick? Who did you pick to win that match?
Well, I looked into the crystal ball, which is also part of my brain, and I knew right away because I'm never wrong. But the answer was Roman Reigns.
And you got that one right, Slick Vic. Good job. Off to a firm start here with the crystal ball.
Yeah.
All right. So Slick Vic, 1 out of 6 matches here, picks Roman Reigns, and he is absolutely correct. Match number 2, Slick Vic. Who did you have to win the second match of that event?
This match deserves an asterisk because this was not on the list when I made my original picks. I was thrust into picking a winner at the last minute. But literally, this match was added the night before. So, I couldn't absorb enough energy from the crystal ball.
That's true. That is
true. So in my shortly improvised wisdom, I chose the Street Profits to win.
Yes, you thought the Street Profits were going to go over, and you had a reason for that. What was the reason, Vic? Why did you think that they were going to go over and take the titles away from the Wyatts?
Well, the reasoning was simple. It was like, why cobble together a match at the last minute for a championship if you're just not gonna pass it off? Like, why make this match if the Street Profits weren't gonna be walking out with the titles?
Yeah, I thought that was a good point. At the same time, I didn't understand why they would take the titles off the Wyatts so soon. I don't think that they've sort of hit their peak yet with those championships. But you know what? It surprised you, and we thought that might happen with a Friday Night SmackDown coming after the fact that we recorded that last episode. Nonetheless, Vic, I'm sorry, pal, but we got to give you the other for that one.
I hang my head in shame.
It's okay, Vic. You may redeem yourself here. We're going to the next match, and the next match was Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Who did you pick to win this match, Vic?
This was a no-brainer. I mean, it had to be, and it sure was. The winner was Becky Lynch.
And you got that one right, Slick Vic. Good job. So far, you're 2 out of 6 correct here, and 1 wrong. So we'll move on. Next match would have been the Donnybrook match, right? Donnybrook match between Sheamus and Rusev. Who did you have to win this match, Slick Vic?
This was a hard one to call, but unfortunately, I chose Sheamus because I believed in that. I believed in that ginger Celtic warrior. It was his match, but alas, I was mistaken.
That you were, Vic. That you were, and unfortunately, that results in a big buzzer. I'm not going to hit you with it again. We've already hit you with it once. Unfortunately, the crystal ball didn't come through for you here, but you know what? Nonetheless, we still got a few matches here to go with Clash in Paris, and we're going to see how you fare here. So the next match would have been Logan Paul versus John Cena, and Slick Vic, your pick was?
My original choice was John Cena, which is the choice I always kept. But it's funny because going into this match, especially after watching the promo battle on Friday, the 2 days before, I was like, oof, John is laying it into Paul really, really hard. Like, Logan Paul kind of has to win this match to, not look like such a chump.
Mm-hmm.
But I did pick John Cena to win.
Some of that old school mentality led you to the win for that one, Slick Vic. Good job. All right. After this, we have the main event, right? The Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship. And as I sort of alluded to before, who had anybody else besides Seth Rollins to win this one? Slick Vic, what did you say on this one?
Man, I was actually cheering for LA Knight to win this match, but it was not meant to be. In fact, the crystal ball told me it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And I was right. I picked Seth freaking Rollins to win this match.
All right, and that's got it. That is Clash in Paris, Slick Vic's picks. Overall, Slick Vic picked 4 out of 6 picks correct. And that's a pretty solid little average there, Slick Vic. I know last time you had 12 matches, so there was a little bit more leeway, but at the same time, more room for error as well. Overall, 4 out of 6 picks correct for Clash in Paris gives you a 67 percentile on the correct picks for the event. And if we are to combine that with your picks from SummerSlam and the first edition of Slick Vic's picks that we did, that gives you a total running average right now of 56%.
Strong Steiner math you got there.
How do you feel about your picks so far, Slick Vic? Do you think the crystal ball is a deciding factor in this? Will it make a comeback for the next PLE, next edition of Slick Vic's picks? I'm assuming that's going to be WrestlePalooza.
Yes. The crystal ball will definitely be played again. If it deceives me, if it's lies, then I may have to choose another trinket.
Yeah. Well, so far I think it's doing you well. I think that, the crystal ball, wherever it's been its former life, whatever kind of fortunes that it told in a former life, we can say that now it is firmly in the hands of the right man and for the right reason right here on Wrestling with Power. That crystal ball is where it belongs, and I think it should stick around.
I paid 20 rupees for this crystal ball, and I am not disappointed yet. Inside joke for anyone that played that game.
I like it. I like the crystal ball. I hope it sticks around. I hope that it serves you well in your next picks, Slick Vic. But you're on the upswing, my friend. You went from 50% to 56%, and that's an improvement no matter how you look at it. So, good on you, Slick Vic, and good on us here at Wrestling with Power and the picks. One of my favorite segments, as I've mentioned in the past. But we got a little bit more to get over to, and we got the Raw review from September the 1st, 2025, which was just a mere 3 days ago by my calculations here, unless we're flying back from Japan, in which we may gain an extra day. However Hulk Hogan's math works out there.
It took me a minute to realize what you're talking about there. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. I wrestle 400 days in a year, brother.
We got the Raw review. And again, ladies and gentlemen, my notes have expanded greatly from what they were before, and I do apologize if they run a little bit long. But I have a lot of notes here. Are you ready, Slick Vic, for the Raw review?
As ready as I'm going to be.
All right. So Monday Night Raw emanated from La Défense Arena in Paris, France, same location as Clash in Paris. And I'll admit, Slick Vic, I didn't understand when they first started Raw. I saw the Eiffel Tower and I was like, "Oh, cool! They brought the prop over to whatever arena they're doing Raw at. This is neat." They're kind of, and then I quickly realized they're in the same arena. So they were in the same arena as Clash in Paris, and I would love to assume that these fine French peoples got the 2-for-1 deal for Clash and Raw, but I highly doubt it. WWE probably made them pay for both. But I did not get an attendance number. Who cares? I think the overall attendance for Clash and Raw was like 60-some thousand plus. Maybe I'm way off on that, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that somewhere on the internet. And you can always believe the internet, Slick Vic. But the show starts with a backstage segment. You got CM Punk. He's out back. He's waiting for Rollins to arrive. He's severely pissed off. And from that, we see several other superstars arriving to the arena, which is sort of a running thing with Raw as it fires up. We see people showing up to the arena like they haven't been there all day. Whatever.
I'd almost
Uh,
call that bit with the opening like a prologue. Don't mean to cut you off there, Mosley, but yeah, it was like a prologue, like before the usual, hey, look who's here tonight on Raw, folks.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a running thing throughout the show, so it's interesting that they did that, and I have sort of my gripes with it, but we'll get to that a little bit later. CM Punk, he's basically, I guess he's just going to kick Rollins' ass. I don't know what his intentions are here, but he's waiting for him to show up. From that, we move to an in-ring segment. Jey Uso is shown walking through the crowd, I guess by the concessions or whatever. And, like I said, you see everybody arriving to the arena, and the last one is Jey Uso. And he's just, inconspicuously by the concessions, as he normally is when he enters. And, of course, he enters. His music hits, he enters the arena. Everyone's yeeting and singing along to the best of their abilities. Jey Uso heads to the ring. He cuts a promo. He says he should be standing in the ring with the world title. I kind of disagree. I think he was the weak link in that match, but he says he should be standing in the ring with the world title around his waist instead of medical tape. He says that maybe he should have taken Roman's advice and not got involved in Roman's match at Clash, but that he will always be there for his family. And then he calls out the entire Vision. Instead of the Vision, he gets, LA Knight. Knight comes out. He blames Jey for costing him and everyone else in the title match last night the championship. Then you get Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker coming out. Breaker tries cutting a promo, but is interrupted by a loud crowd chanting for Roman Reigns. Bronson tries and gets "fuck you Bronson" chants that gets bleeped. And we've talked about bleeping fucks in the past. The match is made between the two teams for later tonight. Thoughts on this? I thought a lighter hype segment to start this week's Raw, but this crowd is obviously still white hot for some wrestling. Good mic work by Knight here as usual, who carries much of this segment and even calls Bronson a greasy warthog, which I liked because I'm a fan of greasy warthogs, if you can't tell by my arm. And he calls Breaker a cross-eyed half-wit, which I thought was funny until I realized he calls everybody a cross-eyed half-wit. But Breaker really is kind of cross-eyed sometimes. I'm still not sold on Jay's mic skills. He always seems flustered in whatever he's trying to say. I know he's very emotional, but he always seems like he just can't formulate through his mouth what is happening in his head. What did you think about this opening segment to Raw, Slick Vic?
Well, I like Jey was selling the injuries from last night, and I for a moment I thought he wasn't actually going to eat, but he's not going to deprive the crowd of eating because when he got to the ring, he gets in the second rope and he starts eating. They didn't run it back though, which is cool. I thought LA Knight's promo was very fiery and well delivered. He called himself a loser. And he also said Seth lives in his wife's shadow. And he talks about how he had the match won in a few moments. Good stuff. And then the Braun's interrupted. LA Knight and Braun had a pretty good exchange. And Braun, man, he sounds just like his uncle, doesn't he? At least I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, there's that "fuck you, Braun" chant that you mentioned. Bronson tells him that there's all yeet, no skeet, which actually got a little bit of a chuckle out of me.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then the whole, greasy warthog and the cross-eyed half-wit versus Jey Uso and LA Knight main event is made. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right. Then we go on to a backstage segment. We got Io Sky. She is shown making amends with the Kabuki Warriors. This is a running common thing that I think I'm already getting tired of, but she's apologizing and making amends, and these are her buddies, and they're her Japanese people, and she can talk to them in her native language, and I guess that makes for good friends. I don't know. She offers to help them, but Asuka says they don't need it. My thoughts on this segment? Okay. With a question mark. Anything to add, Vic?
Yeah. I'm just going to echo Michael Cole's sentiments. He called this whole thing strange. But if Tanae was here, he'd probably be like, it's the damnest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. All right. Good call, Slick Vic. From that, we finally get into the first match of the night. It's a tag team match. The Judgment Day members, Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, versus the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane. So, in this match, Asuka and Roxanne started out. There's not much action between these two. They're swapping tags back and forth until Raquel gets back in, who sells for Kairi's flying moves until getting tagged back out, and then we are in a commercial break. Boo that. Back from the commercial break, Asuka finally gets tagged back in, hits a big missile drop kick to Raquel, then works on Roxanne for a bit, until being taken down by Raquel, who then tags in legally. Double teaming from Judgment Day, 2 count on Asuka. More tandem offense from Judgment Day. Then Kairi shows up and head scissors Raquel to the outside. Asuka gets the Asuka lock on Roxanne, who rolls out of it. Kairi gets an insane elbow from the top turnbuckle to the floor onto Raquel. Asuka lock again on Roxanne, who taps out. End of the match. My thoughts. This was a boring match, outside of a couple of big top turnbuckle spots. I was waiting for some furthering of the EO angle post-match, but it doesn't happen. The Kabuki Warriors go over clean in this one, which is, I don't know, sort of confusing here, because who are you trying to build? I don't know who they're trying to build. It's like one week one team goes over, another week another team goes over, and then you're sort of back where you started. There's no furthering of this EO and Kabuki Warriors deal unless it's some kind of weird backstage angle. What did you think about this match, Vic?
There was a few spots I liked that I'll cover, but like, first of all, one of the first things I have here is Asuka hits an octopus hold, which I said is the second time we've seen one all weekend, because Logan Paul hit one the previous night. Yep. There was some decent offense, some decent tandem offense by the Kabuki Warriors, but then there was like these awkward waiting for spot moments, which I'm seeing a pattern of whenever they're wrestling the Judgment Day, or Raquel and Roxanne at singles matches too. It's like somebody goes up for a turnbuckle spot or a top rope spot, and they're just like waiting, trying to pretend like they're dizzy or whatnot, but it just looks awkward to me. The insane elbow from the top of the post is cool, but what the heck happened with it? What the fuck happened with the ending? Asuka misses a running spin kick that Roxanne still sold, but then Asuka decides to start the pinner, but then changes her mind and locks in the Asuka lock for the submission. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
It was a mess.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to shit on it, but I'm just gonna be like, whatever.
So then we're into a pre-recorded segment. This is Adam Pearce, the good old GM, and he's asking who should be the next Women's World Champion. And then he gives us a rundown of the events as of late surrounding the Women's World title, before making the match for WrestlePalooza, Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer. And then Michael Cole announces a contract signing between the two next week on Monday Night Raw. My thoughts? I'm glad that Stephanie is getting her shot, and hopefully she wins. I don't feel like Io should be world champion again this soon, or maybe for a while. May get some heat for that, because of various reasons. One major reason being her lack of talking ability, the other being her boring gimmick, and also because there's so many others that are better than her. Io would make a good IC champ if they could ever get that belt off of Becky Lynch, but they should keep the world title off of her, meaning Io, until things change. Is Stephanie Vaquer ready for it? Who knows? But she's white hot right now, and WWE should capitalize on that. So, My notes shit on Io a little bit here, and I don't really mean to shit on her, but I think that she's really kind of a workhorse. I think that she's wrestling every week. She had that really good match a couple of weeks, maybe last week or the week before, that it just made me want that to be sort of the IC division instead of the Intercontinental title being strapped to Becky. You know, there's a whole thing here. I think Becky should either not have a title or she should have one of the main titles, considering the feud and the exposure she's getting. Whereas some of these other gals who still need a little work, who may need a thing or two, but are ready for a championship, could use that title. What did you think about this announcement, Slick Vic? I know you're a big fan of Stephanie Vicaire, and
Oh
finally
yes.
she's getting what she deserves here. What did you think about this?
I want to be. I like the idea of being touched by the devil's kiss, but I'll just move on and say that, like you said, Stephanie is white hot right now, but they haven't really done with her anything with her in the last like month. It's almost like it's hurting her because what has she done besides minor backstage segments, if any, in the last like 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Not much. I have long-term booking in mind here for this match. I don't know if I should go into it right now or wait next week for the contract signing, because I do have a modicum of an idea in my brain that I would like to water before I give it. So I'll do it next week.
Okay.
But this is going to be a very interesting turn of events, because I think Stephanie Vicaire is white hot right now. At the same time, Io Sky is one of the most popular women on the roster, at least from a workhorse standpoint. But like I said, I'll get into this in the next week or in the coming weeks because I do have some long-term booking on where the women's championship goes in the next 2 months. Not 2 months,
All right.
maybe the next month and a half, maybe. I'll give
good
you
stuff.
I'll give you a hint. It's going to be in Perth, Australia.
Okay. Solid hint there, Vic, and can't wait to see what your crystal ball is able to assist you with in telling the future here next week. Everybody tune in next week. We got some big news from Slick Vic. Oh no, he's putting the
Lament configuration.
the configuration. I don't know. That may be a good thing or a bad thing. But anyway, we're moving on. Backstage segment. So Punk is shown still waiting for Rollins in the back. This is 10 minutes short of an hour into Raw. And this guy has been pacing in the back waiting for Rollins to show up. My thoughts on this: couldn't he just have done something more productive until Rollins showed up? Maybe a match in place of that shoddy women's tag match we just had? You know, whatever. Like, it could have been anything else besides having just Punk chilling in the back, and it would have appeased me a little bit more. But nonetheless, from that we go to another match. We get Finn Balor with JD McDonough versus Dragon Lee. So, for the match, some back and forth. Balor is controlling much of the first few minutes. Dragon Lee hits a flipping attack over the top rope to Balor on the floor, and we're back into a fucking commercial break already. The match barely gets started, and all of a sudden we're having to watch commercials again.
Can I give you a cheat code for this?
What's that?
You got to watch the show like a half an hour after it's live, and then you can start fast forwarding through some of these commercials.
I know, I get that. But I think at the same time, Vic, if I have to suffer through it, the masses are also suffering through it. And I feel like I'm echoing the sentiments of the masses here.
That's
Fuck
true.
commercial breaks. All right, so back from the commercial break, more back and forth. Dragon Lee hits a crossbody, gets a 2 count. The next move is avoided by Balor, who kicks Lee into the corner, and he starts to go for a coup de grace, but Lee counters it. Balor is hanging there in the Tree of Woe, while Dragon Lee takes out JD McDonough on the outside. Then Dragon Lee goes back to finish Balor, but is thrown off the turnbuckle, and then Balor hits the coup de grace for the win. Thoughts on this? Balor is always so fluid in the ring, if not a bit boring sometimes. What I mean by that, Balor is so good. He's so fluid. He's so... To me, Balor looks like somebody who would be extremely easy to work with. Like, if you're going to have a match with Finn Balor, you basically got the night off. It's going to be smooth sailing, easy money. But at the same time, if you've seen a couple of 3 Balor matches, you've seen them all. I mean, it's run of the mill. I think that Balor can work with almost anyone, but I also think that it translates way better when he's in there with people his size. The match itself was more or less a filler match with nothing truly notable to see. Thoughts, Slick Vic?
I disagree, man. I thought this match was very exciting. First of all, I love the dueling chants. The French crowd was really into this match, and the French really love Finn Balor. So like I said, there was a lot of cool offense. The flying arm drag that Dragon Lee hit was great. There was a lot of great counters, great fast-paced action. Near the end, the crowd starts singing Finn's name and waving their hands, similar to what they did to John Cena the night before. And JD even gets involved with the whole waving up the hand thing, which I thought was funny. Amazing Hurricane Rana by JD. I'm sorry, to JD by Dragon Lee from the apron to the outside. But yeah, it was, fun stuff. I was having a blast with this one. It was a lot of fun.
So you thoroughly enjoyed it. I was over there snoozing. Good to get a little bit of a counterpoint there, Slick Vic. Fair play, my friend. From that, we go to a backstage segment. Nikki Bella is talking to Io Sky, but Nikki gets ran off by Asuka, who says Io is her friend. Io says she doesn't need the Kabuki's help, but Asuka says she needed help at SummerSlam. Ooh. Asuka walks off and yells for Kairi to join. My thoughts. Why is Asuka always yelling like a man? Is that just a Japanese thing? Yelling like a goddamn samurai? What say you, Slick Vic?
I'm going to say the same thing Michael Cole says. This is just strange. This is just more weirdness. I mean, these are like these are like anime characters, really. I mean,
that's what it makes me think of. Kamehameha. This is just fucking crazy screaming Japanese stuff.
I mean, I get a little bit of a kick from sometimes when Asuka yells and stuff, but at the same time, I'm probably not the target audience for this because I've never an anime fan. Right. So I'm just kind of like, what the? Oh, okay, it's weird, but okay.
I think it's kind of funny because she comes across, I would think, to me and most Americans as being severely over the top. But it's fun. It's funny. From that, we get a backstage segment where Adam Pearce is in the back. He meets the Judgment Day, and he bans Finn Balor and JD McDonough from ringside during the Intercontinental title match later up. My thoughts, good. Hopefully it stays that way, but I feel like there will still be some shenanigans somehow. Any thoughts on that, Slick Vic?
Not much. Was Finn smiling in the background again?
I do not have any notes for that. I don't remember. He probably was.
Yeah.
All right, Slick Vic. So from that, we go to a 6-man tag team match. We got Grayson Waller with the New Day. Of course, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Versus Penta with the War Raiders. Wow, that was my phone going off. Probably want to turn those sounds down. All right, so for this match, we got Penta and Xavier starting out, but others get involved right off the bat. Penta flies from the top turnbuckle to take everyone out at ringside. Penta and the Raiders do the smooth operator walk right into another commercial break.
Good segue, at least.
Yeah, back from the break, the New Day is in control. Eric with a big knee to Xavier to turn the tables. Ivar and Waller tagged in. Both end up down and crawling for another tag to Penta and Xavier. There's a lot of tags going on here. Penta hits a barrage of offense on everyone. Eric tags himself in. Then Waller, who hits a rolling flatliner on Eric, followed by a splash from Kofi off the top turnbuckle, gets a 2 count. More chaos leads to Penta hitting the Mexican Destroyer on Xavier for the win. My thoughts on this: Mr. Monday Night to the rescue once again, that being Penta. The War Raiders are always fun to watch with their big, powerful moves, but also their impressive high-flying attacks as well. I enjoyed this grouping and this match. It was an exciting one, though it may have been a bit too chaotic at times and hard to follow. Slick Vic, what did you think about this 6-man tag team match?
I don't know if you caught this at the very beginning of the match, but Wade Barrett said, "In the absence of Corey Greaves, we have bummed out Barrett." That got a pop out of me. Right. And when the New Day and Big G, is that what we're calling Grayson Waller now? Big G.
Big G. Okay.
When they were making their way to the ring, they were like throwing people's phones off, and then there was a guy in the crowd who had this Photoshop or AI picture of Grayson Waller as like a chef. And they took it from him and tore it up. I almost rewound that thing like 3 times because I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. Anyways, I thought the match was good. I thought it was a good, fast-paced match. Good stuff. I loved the Penta walk that you mentioned, the smooth operator. Yeah. Ivar moves really good for a huge dude, and he's a really, really thick dude. Yeah. But it's funny though, when he went for like a Bronco Buster on somebody and missed, and he sold it. I thought that was hilarious. He's like, ah! Anyways, the rolling tornado DDT by Penta was awesome. I'm sorry, the rolling into the tornado DDT. Anyways, there was a headbutt to the bicep by Eric, which I've never seen before or even described by one of the commentators. That was hilarious. Whatever the Raiders did to Woods looks like it could have been bad. There was like this one move where I think Ivar passed Woods off to somebody, and then I can't remember the exact maneuver right now, but there was a tag team move by the War Raiders to Xavier Woods that could look like it could have ended really bad. Like Xavier Woods would have needed that neck brace for real. But anyways, I thought it was a fun match. I had a good time with it. Penta is Mr. Monday Night. I always look forward to Penta every Monday nights with the entrance, the walk, the moves, the gimmick, Cero Miedo, fun stuff.
Yeah. And you can almost count on it every single Monday. That's why I have dubbed him Mr. Monday Night. Or maybe even Senor Monday Night. Maybe that's
Senor Monday Night. That's absolutely perfect, yeah.
All right. Moving on from that, we got a backstage segment. This is Kathy Kelly interviewing Rhea, asking what she thinks about the match being made for the women's world title, between Io and Stephanie. The Kabuki Warriors interrupt this. Asuka and Rhea have a heated exchange, and that's pretty much it. From this, I guess we're getting Rhea versus Asuka soon. I'm into it. That should be a banger.
That's exactly what I thought. They're planting seeds for a match between Asuka and Rhea. But, man, the Kabuki Warriors are all over this show, aren't they?
Yeah, they're always... For the past several weeks, it seems like they get several backstage segments of them just sneaking around and acting crazy and screaming. And
yeah.
Oh, they're definitely a focal point of Raw here lately. So then we get a match. This is one of the big matches of the night. Intercontinental Championship. Dominic Mysterio, the champion, versus AJ Styles. These two are still making the rounds. And it's still good. I still enjoy it. But, of course, from earlier, as we mentioned, the Judgment Day is banned from ringside here. So, interesting. All right, so the match starts. AJ comes out to a huge pop. Then the fans start singing some song I'm not familiar with. And then we go to a commercial break. While we're in that commercial break, Slick Vic, do you know what song they were singing?
I forgot the translation exactly, but I think it is a football song. When I say football, I mean European football, which is soccer to us Americans. Mm-hmm. I believe it's a football song that has the word phenomenal in it, which is why they always sing it for AJ Styles.
Okay. All I know is they were hot for AJ here.
Yeah.
When we come back from the commercial break, Slick Vic, we're into a backstage segment, so then I'll go right back into the match. But we're backstage again. We got Adam Pearce with Roxanne and Raquel. Roxanne's complaining about not being included in the women's title match. Then Lyra shows up. Pierce reports, Lyra's asking about Bayley, asking, have you heard from Bayley, et cetera, et cetera. Pierce reports that he had talked to Bayley, and he was saying that she said some weird things, but sounded fine. So interesting. What do you make of this, Vic?
Well, I'm waiting to see Bailey come back because I'm
Yeah,
wondering what kind of state she's going to be in. That's all, really.
just sort of furthering this Bayley evolution, if you will. So from that backstage segment, we finally get back to the match between Dom and AJ, and we see Dom attack AJ during the introduction. So they're having the big over-the-top introductions. It's a title match, as they should. And Dom with the early attack while this is all going on. The crowd is still singing, and they're super hyped and loud for AJ here. AJ cuts off Dom's offense with a drop kick, followed by a splash over the top rope to the floor, and we are into another commercial break. Slick Vic. We can't even get 2 minutes into this match, and we're into another commercial break. Back from the break, Dom jumps at AJ on the outside, but is caught and power bombed into the announce table. Then guess what, Slick Vic? Guess what happens next? Just take a wild guess. Just peer into your crystal ball and tell me if you can assume what happened after this massive power bomb into the table.
Did they go to commercial?
Another fucking commercial break. Title match, one of the main events of the night, and already we're not even 5-6 minutes of actual quality match content, and we've had 2 commercial breaks. Back from the commercial break, Dom hits a tornado DDT. AJ is back on the advantage after this. He hits a neck breaker, gets a 2 count. Gut Buster gets a 2 count, goes for a Styles Clash, but is countered by Dom with I think what they called this was a mullet manic.
Mullet-o-matic.
Mullet-o-matic, okay. Dom hits the mullet-o-matic, gets a 2 count. More back and forth with several near falls. AJ hits Styles Clash, but hooks Dom's legs too close to the ropes and has Dom's foot on the rope, which breaks the count. Then we see good friend El Grande Americano appear, and he hits AJ with the loaded mask. Dom then follows that up with a frog splash to AJ for the 3 count pin. My thoughts. Called it. Called it earlier in the night. I knew some stupid shit would happen here to have Dom retain, even without the Judgment Day involved. Kind of knew some kind of shenanigans were going to go on. Not that I would rather see Dom go over on AJ clean, but I mean, come on. Some other way to get Dom out with the title would have been preferred for me, rather than another interference situation. What did you think about the match yourself there, Vic?
I thought the match was great. I thought both guys looked great, but jumping ahead, when El Grande Americano came out, he really took the wind out of the crowd. And this is a crowd that's sings and dances all night. When El Grande Americano loaded up his mask and hit AJ with it, and then Dom gets the pin, that was the quietest I think the French crowd has been the last 3 shows. Like, wow. Good on El Grande Americano for that.
Yeah, suck the air right out of the room.
Exactly. So I actually did note the mullet-o-matic because I'm like, I've seen that before. Christian does that, but still, I like the name of the move. But the Michinoku driver that Dom hit on AJ, smooth as hell. The brainbuster that AJ hit on Dom, devastating as hell.
Yeah.
Overall, yeah, like I said, I had a good time with this match. And that ending, yeah. They really did suck the wind out of the sails in France.
All right. Yeah, so I was pumped for it, but I knew something was going to happen. So, anyway, On to that, we got a couple of backstage segments I'll go over. Jackie Redmond is in the back. She's interviewing LA Knight, asking him if he can get along with Jey Uso tonight in the tag team match. Jay shows up while LA Knight is giving his, I guess, response to this, and ends it with 4 letters, 1 word. He is interrupted by Knight, who says, "No, it ain't yeet. It's yeah," and then walks off. Another backstage segment here. CM Punk is seen talking with Rhea backstage as he still waits for Rollins. Pierce shows up and says he's told Rollins is in the building, and then Punk heads out to find him. My thoughts on this was, I bet Rollins was in the building the entire time. Like, maybe he got there before Punk, and like Punk's just waiting in the back and he doesn't know that he's somewhere else. Either way, what a waste of Punk here to just have him standing around backstage the whole show. Of course, we segue from that into another segment involving Punk, but as far as this segment with LA Knight, Jey Uso, and then, of course, Punk in the back talking to Rhea, Vic, do you got any thoughts on that?
I like the segment with LA Knight and Jey Uso, where they're like, either we survive together or we fall apart. You give dirt or you get dirt. And 4 letters, 1 word. Yeah. I don't understand the whole Rhea and Punk partnership. Has there been any relationship between them in the past?
Yeah, there has, actually. And we didn't really talk about WWE Unreal on the show, at least yet. Maybe that's something that we'll get around to reviewing, the Netflix, the 5 episodes of WWE Unreal. But I remember there was a episode in there where CM Punk and Rhea were kind of getting kind of close, like forming a friendship and a close friendship together. So that's what it took me back to when I seen them talking backstage.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know how Seth snuck into the building. Maybe he jumped into a sewer that like led into the arena.
Yeah,
And
Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah. That Snoop Dogg episode.
I would know the episode where they are trying to sneak into the Rush concert and they kidnap the guitarist.
It was Rush. Okay, I thought it was Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good stuff, pal. That's good shit, pal.
They go through the sewer, and then they get to the show, and then they get kicked out of the show and sent back to Sunnyvale, and then they go through the sewer again and go back to the show. Oh,
fantastic, fantastic. That's my thoughts on that whole promo.
Yeah. So anyway, Punk, he's told that Rollins is in the building, so he goes off. And then we get an in-ring segment where CM Punk's music hits. He heads to the ring. He says that he's hijacking the show until Rollins comes out. Rollins' music hits, but it's Becky Lynch who comes out to Rollins' music. The fans are already chanting for AJ Lee at this point. We get a good exchange between Becky and Punk here, with her trying to talk up her husband. She says she got tired of people chanting CM Punk's name during her matches in the past. Fans start chanting, "Shut the fuck up." And the truck starts blacking out the video instead of bleeping the fucks before realizing it. And then they start bleeping the fucks. So they know they're supposed to bleep something, but they're hitting the video button. Punk says Becky is the man, but she just has bad taste in men. Rollins finally comes out. He doesn't get any further than the stage. He, let's see here. He tells CM Punk to come up to the stage and say it to his face, but walks away whenever Punk bypasses Becky to start up to the stage. Becky slaps the shit out of Punk over and over. Says Becky, and then Punk says Becky will regret putting her hands on him. Punk walks up the ramp as Becky berates him from the ring. My thoughts on this entire segment. It was interesting, it was exciting, but I felt like it was sort of anticlimactic in the ending. So she's just smacking him, and he just walks away pissed off. Like there's no big, comeuppance here, but maybe we'll see why that is in the coming weeks. Wondering where it will go from here, as Becky pretty much got away with berating and slapping Punk, and Rollins got away unscathed. It was a good segment while it lasted, but it ended on its face a bit, I felt. Slick Vic, your thoughts?
I have the exact same feelings that you do, except I liked it, except that my biggest gripe was it went too long. Like, after the slapping started happening, and Becky she just kept taunting Punk to do something about it. That went on just way too long. Like, somebody would like, where was Rhea Ripley right there to just come in on Punk's behalf and, get some retaliation?
That's a good point.
But overall, I liked it. I actually really liked when Becky came out and did Seth's whole entrance. Like, she was doing his mannerisms, his taunting, his walking. I thought that was fun. It's good on Becky for that. But, it's all fine now because, well, if what we see is going to happen, if the rumors are true, somebody's going to show up, maybe even tomorrow in Chicago, which I unfortunately will not be attending, but we'll see.
I asked you a few weeks ago if you were going to go to that show, and you told me no, that you had some other plans lined out.
I do have some plans, but at the same time, these ticket prices ever since TKO took over are, pretty damn steep.
Yeah, they are. But man, what a night. If what we think may happen happens, what an event it would be to be a part of.
Especially because I hear now that there's other rumors of somebody else going to be there, which I'm sure you'll get to later.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see what happens next. There's a lot of rumor and innuendo and speculation online. So we'll talk about that in just a few moments. But first, we want to get to the main event of this Raw and cap it off. The main event of the night is a tag team match between Jey Uso and LA Knight versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. All right, so Jey and Bronson start the match. LA Knight and Jey control much of the first few minutes as each member of both teams tags in and out several times. Breaker launches Jey to the outside, and we enter a commercial break. Back from the break, Reed and Breaker are on the offense now, but Jey gets the tag to Knight, who takes the heat to Reed. Breaker eventually gets the tag and gives Knight the business with several suplexes and trash talking. Reed tags in for a moment before being knocked down, allowing Knight to tag in Jey and Reed to tag Breaker back in. Jey hits some offense here, culminating with a spear on Breaker, then joining Knight and clotheslining Reed over the top rope. Knight hits a BFT on Breaker, followed by an Uso splash, but Reed pulls Jey out, preventing the 3 count. So essentially this match so far is a lot of tagging in and out, and maybe unnecessarily. I'm not a real big fan of getting in the ring for 30 seconds and then tagging out, and then being in there for 30 seconds and tagging out. I think that it should be like maximum 2 to 3 tags per team each match, and then they should get their shit in. But, that's just me. Reed and Jey brawl in the ring for a bit before Breaker, the legal man, shows back up, spearing Jey out of his boots for the 3 count. The beatdown continues post-match with Breaker and Reed hitting their finishers on Jey. Then Jimmy Uso's music hits. The Vision goes scurrying as Jimmy tends to his brother. Of course, Jimmy heads down to the ring with a chair, and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed hightail it out of there. Thoughts on the match? Lots of good offense during this match from Knight. Big fan of his in-ring work, actually. We've said in the past his strong suit is his mic skills, but I really think Knight is excellent in the ring. I really do. I think he's very believable. Everything he does is very believable in the ring. He's got a really good top rope elbow drop, which I'm a fan of the elbow drop. It's one of my favorite moves in all of professional wrestling. Breaker and Reed get better every week as well. And Jay is Jay. Pretty much the same. The ending is odd, I thought. Why would Jimmy come out? Why wouldn't Jimmy come out sooner to help his brother? His brother's getting beat down for 2 or 3 minutes before he finally comes out. Why wouldn't he have came out sooner? And does anybody really believe that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker would be scared of Jimmy Uso, even with a chair in hand? Questionable. But Slick Vic, that's the end of the show. That's the main event. Do you have any thoughts, my friend?
I pretty much agree with everything you said there. I mean, I like LA Knight. I'm so glad he got to showcase some stuff here. He got some mic time as well. Braun Breaker looks great. And I was happy that we didn't have another repeat of the post-match shenanigans from Clash in Paris, where they're just going to tsunami the fuck out of both men or every member involved, which I think is getting really fucking old. But yeah, I don't really have much to add, to be honest with you. It was just there.
Gotcha. Well spoken, Vic. Anyway, that was Raw. So now you know the rest of the story. You've got SmackDown, you've got Clash in Paris, you've got Raw. And now we move on to the final segment of the evening. And with that final segment, of course, we're going to get the gong, which means that the show is almost over. But we do want to do a little Cooking the Books. Very interesting, very fun segment here. This week on Cooking the Books, we're going to be talking about AJ Lee's WWE return. And of course, as I mentioned with Monday Night Raw just a few moments ago, the segment with Becky Lynch and CM Punk saying, "You're going to regret laying your hands on me." The crowd's already chanting AJ Lee as if they know something's up. Now, after that segment, the wrestling world is on fire with pretty much the assurance at this point that AJ Lee's coming back. So we're going to go forward with that. We're going to cook these books. We're going to fantasy book a little bit here with AJ Lee's WWE return. Again, we can make this as broad, as specific, or as shallow as we want. Will it be a one-off? Will it be a one-year contract? Is she going to be there to the end of CM Punk's run? However you want to do it. Slick Vic, I think I'm going to let you go ahead and do your Cooking the Books before I get to mine, because I know you have some specific thoughts on this, and mine are just kind of up in the air.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there a segment backstage with CM Punk and Adam Pearce where Punk tells Pearce, like, "Hey, where is SmackDown this Friday?" "Why, it's in Chicago." "What is it?" And Punk was like, "Great." And
Yeah, like,
what's that supposed to interesting? Yeah. What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah. That was. Yep.
Yeah. And now that AJ Lee's been married to Punk for a while now, but where does AJ reside? Chicago.
Good old Chi-Town.
Yeah. So I was thinking, if AJ Lee does come back, and I think it's a surefire sign that she will, who does she feud with? Who do you want to see her feud with? And on top of that, let's start with this one thing, Mosley. Do you have any memorable matches of AJ Lee that come to your mind?
No. I don't think that AJ Lee was sort of in that, and we talked about it earlier, how Nikki Bella, the Bella twins, were in sort of this weird period in WWE, and AJ Lee falls into that same category as being just another one of the, female wrestlers during this time that were not very notable for anything that I can think of.
I remember AJ Lee for her segments more so than her matches.
Yeah.
I remember her character work. I remember some of those moments. Yeah, like you said, she was there when the Bella twins were on top. She was there in the Divas era.
Yep.
And AJ Lee did have her moment in the sun. She was, I don't know if she was a multiple time Divas champion, but she certainly was a champion.
She at least won the Divas title
Yeah.
once.
I remember her feud. She was like in this love triangle with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. Punk famously said, "Hey, I like my women kind of crazy," and she became what was general manager or commissioner of Raw. I can't remember exactly the term they used, but I remember there was like a segment where I believe she threw both Punk and Bryan off the ladder through a table. And yeah, I remember her just being crazy, like her unhinged gimmick. And like I said, her character work was better than her wrestling. I am struggling myself to find a classic AJ Lee match. I remember she had, a series of matches with Paige. I was at WrestleMania 31, and I believe she teamed up with Paige against the Bella Twins. Not so memorable. But anyways, so if AJ Lee comes back, I think the first match is very obvious. It's going to be a mixed tag match between CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Do you see that happening?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's step one for sure.
At WrestlePalooza?
Yes. That is almost as assured as her coming back at all. Unless it's something, and you mentioned earlier, where was Rhea Ripley? Okay, so maybe we don't get AJ Lee. Maybe Rhea comes to the rescue here. That would be an interesting twist, but we're going to go with the, AJ Lee's coming back. Yes, I think that is as assured as her return is that mixed tag match.
Now, after that, I predict a match. I mean, I think it's in place now. I think her and Roxanne Perez have a match. Because I don't follow social media that closely, but I do know that CM Punk and AJ Lee referred to Roxanne as their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a natural feud right there. I think I think AJ Lee and Roxanne Perez have a match. And after that, I wonder, like, who do we see AJ Lee feud with, or at least have matches with? Or also, will she even be here long enough? Will she be at Royal Rumble? Hell, will she even be at Survivor Series War Games? I think a match with Liv Morgan and her could be fun, especially the character work those two women bring to the table. Assuming Liv gets healthy in the next few months. But let me ask you this. Do you want to see AJ Lee against the likes of Charlotte, Bayley, Rhea Ripley, Alexa, Io Sky, Bianca, Jade? Is there any matches in there that you want to see, any rivalries, or do you just want to see AJ Lee for a couple one-offs and call it a day?
That's the question, and that's why we're here cooking these books. I mean, how do you book her coming back? It's not just her coming back, and everybody's been clamoring for it for longer than this, really. But I mean, this is the pinnacle of it. This is literally when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. But again, and I mentioned earlier, is you have your big moments. But big moments are one thing. How do you follow through with that? Do you have that one-off match of the mixed tag match with CM Punk, and then have her fade away and go off into the sunset, so to speak, or do you actually have a year contract out of her? That's where the interesting thing comes in: is who is she going to feud with? What are we looking at over the next 12 months, et cetera, et cetera? And I'll get to that whenever I get to my portion of this cooking the books. But yeah, interesting subject there, Slick Vic. And what will she do? I don't know. I'm brainstorming as we speak.
So this is my prediction. We're going to have that mixed tag match at WrestlePalooza between, as I mentioned, Punk, AJ, Rollins, Becky. And I think at some point, maybe before the year ends, we'll have that match between Roxanne Perez and AJ Lee. Anything after that is up in the air. I think those two matches are assured. But whether or not AJ Lee sticks around after those two matches is, too early to tell. That's my cooking the books segment right there for you, Mosley. What about you?
Okay, good deal. All right, well, for my cooking the books on this and booking AJ Lee's return to WWE, I think that I'm completely in agreement with, and I think that, as I've said, we're getting the mixed tag match. If she comes back, that's the first step. We're getting the mixed tag match. AJ Lee teaming with CM Punk versus Becky Lynch teaming with Seth Rollins. Who wins that match? That's an interesting thing as well. In my booking, I would book AJ Lee and CM Punk to win that match. Why? Because, well, you don't want to bring her back and have all this pomp and circumstance and it on a sour note. And I think it would be a sour note to have Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins go over in that match. So I think AJ Lee and CM Punk wins it. And again, going back to how long is she going to be here? Let's assume that she signs 1 year contract. Okay? Because I don't think they want her for a one-off. I think if she comes back, she's going to need to come back for at least a year. There are certain questions that you got to take into consideration. How ready is she going to be? How much has she been training? How well is she going to fit in with today's modern WWE women's division, considering that during her heyday, there wasn't really a lot of competition. There wasn't really a lot of talent that she had to go up against. So hopefully she's ready for it. I think that she will be. I'm hopeful that she will be, considering she's CM Punk's wife. Obviously, he's going to work with her, going to help her out. What do we see, though, going forward from that tag team match? We got 7 months, Slick Vic, until WrestleMania, if my calculations are correct. We got 7 months. How far can you stretch out AJ Lee coming back from now, the mixed tag match, to WrestleMania? First of all, you don't have to have her wrestling every single show. You don't even have to really have her wrestling every single PLE, even though if she does, it would be good. Maybe she can work with some people like Roxanne, like you said. Maybe some other talent here and there. But I think that the feud between not just Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, but the feud between CM Punk and Seth Rollins carries into WrestleMania. And I'm thinking that that is where we're going to see Seth Rollins versus Punk for the title, the world title. And I also think that that's where we're going to see AJ Lee in some form or fashion versus Becky Lynch. Now, maybe that match happens earlier for the IC women's title. And I think that AJ Lee is the one to take the Intercontinental Women's Championship from Becky Lynch. Now, how does she do it? Does she do it clean? Does she do it with help from CM Punk? Who knows? I think that's what we're going to see happen. I'm booking AJ Lee to beat Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Women's Championship, and then she gets the next several months, however long up until this year is over, to work with some of the younger talent, like we mentioned Roxanne, like we mentioned maybe even Lyra again, Bayley. You mentioned a few names back then. Who would I want to see her go up against? I don't know that I would want to see her go up against the likes of Charlotte, but I could totally see her going up against Bayley and maybe getting in a feud with Bayley, considering Bayley's coming back with this new gimmick. But yeah, I think that AJ Lee would be a good person to come back as long as her in-ring work is good, to take that title off of Becky, sort of in that feud with Punk and Rollins and all of that, and then kind of go off on her own and then eventually lose the title and put somebody over. And, of course, by then your year's up. I mean, you don't really have to have several, 10, 20 big matches between now and WrestleMania. You only got to have a few. We got WrestlePalooza. We got Survivor Series. We got Royal Rumble. She could be in the Rumble and she could get thrown out. That's an easy off right there. Working towards this big WrestleMania event that I think they could definitely stretch it out to to sort of carry this feud on and then end it. Hopefully, to God, end it between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Let CM Punk beat him for the title. Let AJ Lee beat her for the Intercontinental Women's title, and then they kind of do their own thing separately for a while until it's time to ride off in the sunset. And that's essentially my booking. I'm going to give her 1 year. I'm going to give her the Intercontinental Women's Championship, working with some of the younger talent, give some time for some good merch sales, some good segments with her and CM Punk. I don't think she's going to be around for the extent of CM Punk's contract. I don't know how long that is, but I don't think it's just 1 more year. I'm not sure. But I think that she leaves before he leaves, and then this is probably his last run as well. So, who knows? But I definitely think that at least in the beginning, she comes back. We get the mixed tag match. We get the feud with her and Becky. She takes the title off of her, holds it for a few months, works with some younger talent, and then drops it. And that's my fantasy booking for AJ Lee's WWE return.
Longfellow could have said it better, ladies and gentlemen. that was really good. No, that was really good. I'm actually kicking myself for not thinking, well, after the mixed tag match, why doesn't AJ just challenge Becky for the IC title? I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Well, my thoughts on that
makes perfect sense.
I think the IC title match sort of naturally happens from the fact that, you're going to have the mixed tag match, and whoever wins, wins. Like I said, I think that CM Punk and AJ Lee should go over. I think that would be the right move.
Yes.
But AJ Lee can't just up and leave after that, because then she's leaving her husband to fend for himself. And of course, Seth Rollins is never going to stop until they figure out a way to get out of this feud, ultimately. So she's going to have to stick around to sort of even things out for them. And what better way than to feud with Becky Lynch? And like I say, Becky Lynch just happens to have that title. I don't think Becky Lynch needs the title. Like you said earlier, too, there's not really many big memories of big matches in AJ Lee's career. If she signs a 1-year contract, let's say that over the course of that 1 year she has 8, 9, 10 matches, and 4 or 5 of them being big matches, for the IC Women's title, defending the title, the mixed tag match. She could literally, go with the I'm a legend, even though she's not really a legend gimmick, but use the next year to have these big moments that we're going to remember years from now. So
she can challenge Nikki Bella.
Oh, God. Fucking
You mentioned legends, so I'm like, oh my God, Nikki Bella's also.
What a waste of time. No, but that's my cook in the books, and that's just, like I said, that's right off the top of my head, because, like I say, I don't think she's going to, if she comes back, I don't see her coming back for like a 5-year period or anything. And also, I wouldn't want her to, because I don't want, it's the same thing with like Becky and Seth getting together. They're finally together in a big main event spot here, in a big main event angle. How do you separate them again? Now that they're together, how do you separate them? Sort of the same thing with CM Punk and AJ Lee. If she comes back and they're together, and they're married in real life, then how do you separate them?
Right.
It's kind of hard to assume 5 years from now how it's going to work out with them being separate on the roster and doing these things. So, like I say, I give her a year. I think that's plenty enough time. Cap off her career. Maybe she goes to the Hall of Fame or whatever, and then call it a day.
Sounds really good. Very enlightening. Enlightening.
Well, this is the end of the show, and so now we're going to take it back to, well, we've went over a lot of stuff here, Slick Vic. We got a couple of weekly shows. We got Clash in Paris. We got AJ Lee possibly coming back. The wrestling world is on fire over this potential story. And there's some more news going around in the wrestling world, which I wanted to touch on. I'm not sure if I can, because I think I exited off of that shit. But there were some things happening, and now I don't... I don't have it on my wall because it's gone. But anyway, well, maybe we'll talk about those next week. Vic, do you have anything final to say here as we cap off episode 7 of Wrestling with Power?
Well, this is the end of the Peacock era for WWPLEs minus the Saturday night's main event shows.
And the NXT shows.
Yeah.
NXT PLEs are going to be on.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yep.
But, I'm going to take Stephanie McMahon's advice and sign up for a VPN.
Okay. Well, there you go. Hey, it's not a bad decision. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that. Stephanie McMahon's podcast was promoting VPN to, watch stuff that's from, that's landlocked or geo-locked. Yeah. Because of, rights issues. So.
And ESPN got pissed off at her.
Yeah. So, I may be watching WrestlePalooza not on the ESPN network. We'll see, but I will not be pirating it. No, I'm actually going to be using legal means.
Well, I did look into a VPN, even though I'm not very savvy on the whole VPN thing. I did look into it a little bit. I know you got to pay for it, so you got to pay for a VPN, and then you have to pay for the subscription. So I don't know. Everything's getting so expensive, and maybe we'll look at some options that you, the wrestling fans, the listeners out there, and even Slick Vic and myself have for trying to get all this content and at the cheapest price possible. It's getting complicated. It really is. But as of right now, I've got the ESPN app. I went ahead and signed up for it. I've got the Netflix. I've got the DirecTV thing. So I'm doing pretty good right now. But if there's a cheaper option out there, I'm definitely going to be exploring and looking into that. And maybe we'll bring you guys some of that information next week. So make sure you tune in. Again, Wrestling with Power. You can find us on Spotify.com/Wrestling with Power. I fully intend. I've been mentioning it in the past about putting our stuff up on YouTube, and I haven't yet. Mainly because, and I'll tell you guys this, I wanted to use YouTube as a way to break the show up into clips and then put those clips on YouTube. And maybe I might still do that in the future, but at least for right now, I really want to go ahead and break open that YouTube jar. And so this episode will definitely be uploaded to YouTube. I checked it out before we went live today. That address is youtube.com/@WrestlingWithPowerPodcast because some jabron already took @WrestlingWithPower. So until we find him and beat him up, we are going with @WrestlingWithPowerPodcast. And of course, Spotify.com/WrestlingWithPower. And, of course, Facebook. That's where you can comment on all of our posts and things. And sometimes we will put things up there like this week we're going to be doing Cooking the Books, and this is the topic several days before we go live. That'll give you guys the chance to tell us what you think your ideas on that week's fantasy booking is, or whatever else we may post. Slick Vic's picks, etc., whatever we put up there. The episodes... Facebook.com/WrestlingWithPower. Vic, in closing, do you have anything to add, my friend?
Well, when you launch that podcast, when you start uploading clips to YouTube. When we get to let's just say, what's our first milestone? 25 subscribers, 20 or 50 subscribers. Once we do, Mosley and I will pull out our musical instruments and start playing some wrestling themes on them.
Okay. We sure will.
Mr. Mosley, Mr. Mosley's a very talented bass player, and I'm just a mediocre guitar player, but we will definitely...
You can flip that, and maybe you got something there, but... Yeah, sure. Okay, so once we hit, 25? You know what, Vic? We've already got 50 followers on Facebook. Little do you know, we've got 50 followers on there. I don't know how many we got on the Spotify. I think it's only something like 7. So it's kind of low. Even though we average about 15 to 16 listens per week, which is pretty solid, considering we've only did a few episodes here. But yeah, we'll figure that out too. Hell yeah, let's so today we're gonna be putting the episode up on YouTube, and sure, once we hit 50 followers on YouTube, we'll say once we hit 50 followers on YouTube, we will, or 50 followers on Spotify, whichever comes first. We'll play you some tunes.
I mean, if you can see back there, I do have a guitar hanging on my wall. I'm sure Mosley has a bass player, has a bass
I got
guitar.
basses all over the place. I got
Yeah.
let's tour the room here. There's an acoustic guitar over here that I never play because I like bass. I don't like guitar. There's an acoustic bass back there, actually. It's a very sweet Fender Kingsman acoustic bass, 4-string. I have a 6-string fretless bass over there, still in the bag, and I've got right here sitting next to me a 5-string Music Man Stingray, my pride and joy. So we've got all the instruments. We've got all the tools for destruction here.
Yes,
all
we do.
need is your follows, your shares, your everything. Once we hit some kind of milestone, we'll break out the instruments. We'll play you some tunes. And Slick
Absolutely.
Vic, that reminds me, we need to get an intro theme down. We talked about this a long time ago. We still haven't done it. I want some music at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
We need to work on this.
Like original song? Like you and I are going to come up with some original compositions?
Yeah, just an original little jam, a little jingle going into the show. That way you can segue into the show. Have a nice little tune going.
We get 100 followers, we'll compose our own jam for our lovely audience.
There you go. When we get 100, okay, so when we get 100 followers across all platforms, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, all current platforms that we're going to be on. Once we hit 100 followers total combined across all platforms, we will not only play you, we're going to have a segment where we play several wrestling themes, but we will also write and compose and put up on that episode our own entrance theme. How's that?
I love it.
Good stuff, Vic. Well, how about we go ahead and end this show? We've heard the gong. Vic, go ahead and wish these people well.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. And I want to tell you all, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Yes, he does. And stay powerful, everybody. Later.